You ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Well, the first thing I need to say before we start talking about city court is this budgets are a huge jigsaw puzzle, and you and I both are going to find things during the next day or so that we're going, why did we do that? We may be finding some more of them, 6 months from now. But we will be happy to take any suggestions. If you see something that doesn't look right, your analyst has already found one for us. And so, we want to make sure that it's a cooperative thing. We're not, we didn't invent brilliance on this one. We're going to find things, and that's just kind of the way it is. The very first one we've got today is city court. And if you happen to have a budget book, they're on page 228. I don't know what y'all have in front of you.
Hold on just a minute, Tom. Are we supposed to go by this agenda, or we just,
Yes, by this,
Oh, do we need to do all that fun stuff? We can wait.
by this agenda.
oh, okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
don't
we
worry
good.
about
We
this
not
right
worried
here.
about that one, right? We just going
Because
by
we
this.
have one, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Anyway, the court's budget is $4,260,000. That is the budget target we gave them. They did a good job of meeting it. That's about $25,000 less than their original budget for this year, but about 2% more than they'll actually spend this year. Their court revenues will be up about 2.5%, about roughly $1.7 million. They're not changing really much of anything. The same number of authorized positions. We did not, apparently in the original 2023 budget, we didn't fund phone and utilities probably as well as we needed to. We added some money during the year, so that's really probably the only increase we really have. To be honest, the biggest thing we will be doing with courts next year is something you all just funded, which is the project to try to waterproof that building, try to make it where the building is better for the users. SPAR's gonna be, working on that. They've also had to work on, we're running temporary HVAC over there a good bit of the year, so they've had a tough year building wise, but they've worked through it like troopers, and we appreciate that. But we really do not have any serious concerns with their budget one way or the other. Courts Administrator Terrell Miles is here, and he can answer whatever you ask.
Hello, sir.
Hey, no questions, I'll be
Over shit.
You're running for the door.
running for the door.
Quickly.
But I want to thank y'all so much for what Mr. Dark just said about the problems that we had with the building that's going to be fixed. It was just some things that happened. We had a
Can you speak in front of the mic just so
I'm
she
sorry.
can pick you up there?
We did have a flooded roof a couple of years ago from some heavy rain, and we had some contractors come in and they did some of the work, but they didn't finish. And, Mr. Dark, they were all sending their people down to look and see what was going on. And we are so glad that you guys did approve some funding to fix all of that. As a matter of fact, we had a judges meeting yesterday and we were discussing it. So thank y'all so much, and I will let the judges know that money and fixing is on the way. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank
Y'all
you.
did fix the air conditioning?
We
Did we
have
fix
been
that?
using, I believe, a temporary HVAC unit that we've been renting for them in the police building so they could have HVAC. I do not believe the actual permanent fix has been done. That's part of what y'all funded, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it
And
hasn't
what's the
been
target for that?
It hadn't been completed yet, but a couple weeks ago, I did get a call from SPAR that they were bringing some parts and that they were working on some of those chillers. So they did started working on it, but they didn't give me a time frame as to when they would complete it, but they have been working on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have city marshals.
Okay, if you have a book, it's page 233. Otherwise, Marshall Jefferson and his able assistant, Macy Bolin, it is?
Yes, sir.
Are here. Marshall's budget's just a little bit under 2.9 million. That's down a little bit from what they started the year with because they had a number of budgeted vacancies, but it's up about 11% from what they're going to spend this year. The marshal had asked for and received funding for 3 additional deputies. Part of the reason that we were willing to do that is because we tend to ask the marshal over and over and over, can you help us with various other SPD related and other security issues? So we felt like it was all right. They have, we had to add a little money to office supplies and telephone because office supplies didn't have enough money in it to start with, and telephone didn't have a budget at all. So we had to add those things middle of the year. As has always been true, the marshal has paid, every marshal, including this one, has a discretionary account that there are a number of things that they pay for, and it's a fairly long list, but it's a number of things. I think it adds up to about a little, almost $500,000. And I don't know whether he'll do all those this year. That's up to his discretion as to what he wants to do. We have no real issues with their budget and would certainly welcome any questions from them.
Hey, Chief.
Good afternoon. I think you did a great job explaining that.
I will say, thank you to the council and to the mayors. One of the things that I can honestly can say and contest to, as far as, my office, we go above and beyond to assist, Shreveport Police Department in anything that they need. Me and the chief, we is always on direct contact. If he need me, he guaranteed I will support him 100%, and we're gonna always send him some help. So just thank y'all for the budget.
Thank y'all.
Y'all, we just did 35 minutes and about 7, so we may have some visiting time here in a little
Next,
while.
we will have, city council.
Well, this one's mostly for you all to discuss, but it's $1,862,300, a little bit less than you started the year. The biggest change, frankly, is there's a good bit of money, and I think, I would assume Ms. White, Ms. Bogan can explain, there's funds in there both in council and internal audit for some computer software and things like that. So other than that, that's all I see that's really different.
All right.
Tanya smiles.
Next, we will have, Shreveport redevelopment.
This budget has been essentially dormant for as long as I can remember. I think the
Yep.
same $4,000 was there when I was here the last time. Mayor and I were talking about it this morning. We may very well recommend it sometime during this year that y'all appropriate that money into the Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Agency, so they can have, some money. We'll have to put something else with it. Obviously, 4,000 is not gonna cover it. But apparently, and again, I'm only speaking to what I think I know, which is that, there are some state law changes after this was created that make it almost impossible for SRA in the way it's constituted to do the stuff it was thought it would do. So I think we're gonna try to find a way to, eventually make that budget disappear so you don't have to keep appropriating it by putting it into some appropriate use that the council would specify, so.
I think that was gonna be my question as for the, redevelopment authority of going in and what particular budget will be set aside for that, if any, cause this has been the same since I've been on the council too. The same amount of money that we really don't do anything with. Will that money transfer to a new account or a new setup for, the development authority?
I do know we talked about it this morning, and the general belief is we're gonna end up doing some cooperative endeavor agreements between the city and
City
the
and-
SIRA.
Right,
And one of those might well include just transferring these little $4,000
Okay.
over. We're gonna have some other things we're gonna wanna do. Actually, I had put a little bit of money in the, I believe, general government budget in case they needed some legal assistance, and that might be something we might also move over at
Okay.
some point, depending on kinda how things go. But it's, this budget serves no real purpose other than just to remind us every year that we need to do something different, and y'all have now kind of done something different, so.
Oh, my apologies.
Well.
that's Jesus calling.
That's it. Hold on,
Thank you.
Michael.
Jesus, hold on, my phone.
It's tough being important, Jim.
All right, at this time,
Thanks.
nothing else from that. We'll have the, mayor's budget.
Our budget is just a little under 929,000. That's 21% down from the original 23 budget. We have 3 fewer staff positions, a little bit of increases in various accounts, but mostly just what we spent this year. We probably won't need quite as much in office supplies, because there are some things you do when you have a change of term that you have to get printed and all that, and obviously we shouldn't have to do much more of that, but that's pretty much where ours is. It's the same 6 folks, and that's what we're budgeted for.
Okay.
Excuse me, 7.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, you still look to have the economic development director? Are you still looking for that?
Yes, ma'am. I've actually had some more promising interviews and hope to have an announcement for you soon.
Okay.
You and I actually discussed that a little when we were out the other day, and I think that may be a direction we're thinking about.
Okay.
Based on discussions that he and I had after you and I talked.
That's
so.
good.
And on that note, the Economic Development Director is going to be kind of encompassing entertainment, future entertainment,
That person will have that responsibility,
Right.
yes.
It's supposed to be all in one umbrella under,
Yes, sir.
thanks.
Guess, Mr. Stark, you could call
Let me see if I can get a lawyer down here.
and HR and IT and airport.
Yeah, if you could let them know, because, I mean, at this rate, everybody's gonna be early by quite a bit. I told everybody for tomorrow that they needed to be really flexible, because it might run long, it might run short, just depends on, what we get started talking about. And so, I tried to make sure that at least the first two got here early, so we could get
99
going.
to 1 is gonna be short.
It's typically only police and fire number is the longest
We
one.
will not be here
It may be
till
property
35.
standards.
Look at here. We got a lawyer. Yeah, go on. I'm gonna talk first, but you're good.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
City attorney's budget is just a little bit over $1.5 million, up a little bit, 7% from 2023. A little bit more in-house staff offset by some contractual reductions, because we'll be paying a little bit less to contract attorneys, particularly for public records requests and things like that. They have done something that is not in this budget because they've already done it, which is get some software through IT to help us respond better to the electronic parts of public records requests. You also have lumped in with this discussion about the diversion program, and Marcus and I have had some discussions, because that clearly, we need to deal with that differently, because what we're doing is accumulating money that we're not really spending, and probably not helping as many people as the original people who put this together. And I think the discussion we had is, when you come up here next year, you need to tell them that you did all that.
Right.
Because this is something he kind of inherited, and needs to work with city court. But we talked the other day, and there's a number of things we may be able to do. We're charging a fee that we may not have to charge as much for. We have it we have it fairly limited who can apply, and it may be that we can open some of that up. But bottom line, at some point, we'll need to figure out, we have $400-something thousand here that we've accumulated, and we need to figure out how best to use that for the original purpose, or what else we might want to do with it. But that would be y'all's call after we get to visit with Marcus. You're on, Big N.
That's correct. If, since we're talking about diversion right now, we can do that and then jump back to the larger city attorney budget. There are a few things that we could do differently, including removing the requirement that it's only eligible, that city court diversion is currently only eligible for true first-time offenders. So that kind of limits who has access to that program. There are some monitoring things that we could include for people who have been charged with the DUI. We could include some monitoring things that would draw down the amount of the fund a little bit. There's some things like that we could do, as well as the fact that the fee for the city court diversion right now is $1,000. And so that's a part of the reason why it's accumulating so much money so quickly, is because the fee is actually very, very, it can be somewhat prohibitive to people accessing that program. So there are some things that we can do to sort of right-size the program, help it, make it help more people, and also spend that money a little better with diversion. So we'll have to take a look at that over the next year and try to figure out what we can do to try to make that fit better on diversion. As far as the city attorney budget itself, we have it budgeted for 2 additional positions in the city prosecutor's office that we don't currently have. We are looking to hire 2 more people to be full-time prosecutors. We currently only have 1 active full-time prosecutor at city court, and they often run 3 dockets a day. So obviously we can't continue on with just 1 full-time prosecutor. Right now, the attorneys that work here at Government Plaza are doing shifts over at City Court as well in order to cover that. And so once we are able to fill those positions at what I believe to be competitive rates, that'll explain why the budget is where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
let me ask you something on diversion.
Yes, ma'am.
So at what point do we implement diversion versus district court? What's the difference?
So we only have the jurisdiction over misdemeanors.
Okay.
So any criminal misdemeanor that you're charged with or arrested for, in theory, you could be eligible. There are a number of requirements.
Okay,
District court diversion is for anybody that's been charged.
okay,
City court, like I said, one of the differences is that it's only for first-time offenders. There are a couple other requirements like that, but the goal was to have those programs as similar as possible. I know that their fee is actually $1,500, not $1,000
Right.
as well. So there are a couple things like that that make it different from district court diversion, but it's supposed to be the same program, or as close to it as we can get.
okay.
But those two things that I just laid out let you know that it's been a little bit more restrictive than maybe it could be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have HR.
And they've made it down, so we're good. HR's budget is $1,250,000, a little bit less than 2023 started out, because again, we're not funding a lot of the vacancies that they had funded in the original one. There's a little bit of new money for conference room furniture. They're in the midst of quite the remodel up on their floor, and I think it's finally getting closer to done. We also tried to give them a little extra money for the employee assistance program, because that's something they feel like is getting to be more in demand. I think their biggest focus for a little while is going to be administering the pay chart changes we'll be bringing to you for newer hires, and the fact that we will be once again evaluating folks in contemplation of the merit step increases that will be for employees who've been here a little longer. That's really the major budget questions this year, and Ms. Williams is here if you have any questions.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What the CAO stated is correct. I did want to bring to the council, because you guys have been so supportive in the past, and we thank you, about mental health. As he stated, we do prioritize mental health. We had in the budget last year, and we did have to do a budget amendment. We had in the budget last year $15,000 that was approved, and when we started seeing that we would go over, we did advise the administration. To date, we just pulled the numbers so we could advise you. We spent, which we're happy about this, even though it's out of our budget, $20,100 to date on mental health. So that means that our employees are going to seek EAP, which is great.
By the way, while she's mentioning mental health, I know some of you have had some interest in some stuff we were trying to put together for fire and police. As it turns out, the great government bureaucracy has snagged that one because it's going to require an RFP. I'm going to help the police
Really?
write one. So,
Okay.
because it was over 20,000 or 25,000 for fire, it's going to have to actually
Go through a
do a quick
RFP.
RFP, and we'll try to get one done as quickly as we can, because everybody was ready to go on that. In fact, I actually brought the contract to the mayor at one point, and Marcus happened to be there and said, you might want to go back and look at what you have to do legally. So that's where we are there.
So that's going to be providing our first responders with so many visits, or how is that going to be structured? Do you have any idea?
It's actually an app too. And you have some that don't want to go in and necessarily just talk, that it would be at their disposal.
As I appreciate it, it's mostly an
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
Wow.
with some personal stuff, but
Okay.
Correct.
but a lot of it is just simply a counseling service that is not offered, directly through SPD or through
Correct.
anybody locally. So
I see. Okay, thanks.
now it will be interesting to see whether we get any requests from local providers to do this kind of service, and if
Right.
they do, we'd certainly consider them. That's just we were ready to go, and then all of a sudden there it was. So I'm trying to help them do an RFP for that.
Kind
So.
So how soon do we look to get the RFP out?
Depends on how fast they do it. I sent them the draft of what I did for the storm debris, because it said, this is what they're gonna need to do. Tell them this, tell them this, tell them this, send it to purchasing and go. And you don't need to wait too long to get responses, because you kinda know what the universe is. So I would assume by the end of the year. That's the
Okay.
best I can hope for, I think.
Sharon, how many EAP visits do our employees have? Are they allowed?
Currently, they receive 5 free sessions. And then after that, the city of Shreveport insurance will be used, and they would have to just pay their city copay.
Do you find the 5 free sessions is enough?
So let me rephrase. That's not totally accurate. It's 5 free sessions for voluntary EAP.
Okay.
So they can go online and get the information for the EAP providers, and they can go and sign up themselves. However, when there are mandatory EAP sessions, the city departments pay for that. And
Okay.
then in special cases, we will pay for it. We work with the department. I'll give you an example of a special case. We had a gentleman in a department who walked in and witnessed their son was deceased, okay? So that's quite traumatic. Clearly, that person is gonna need more than 5 sessions of EOP, and they're not gonna be ready to go back to duty. And so in that particular case, I just called the department, told them what it was, said, hey, we'll pay for it. And I just told them, just being a good, hey, we need to pay for this. It's not in the policy. We don't need a policy. We need to pay for this. This employee needs this. We have it in one of these budgets, and we just made it work.
So that's discretionary to pay?
When it is mandatory, or
Mandatory.
that was something, Councilwoman, that's kind of out, you know,
Right.
that's a special circumstance. But typically, it's pretty standard where it's voluntary, or if it's mandated. For instance, on your job, if you have some things going on, we're like, Sharon's acting a bit odd. You go in and they say, okay, Sharon has some deeper issues. We can't tell you what they are,
Gotcha.
but we're saying she's gonna need like 10 or 15 sessions. Whatever
Gotcha.
they say when they assess them, we trust them as the medical experts, and we pay for whatever it is. But the standard is 5 on the voluntary. And we also do that same voluntary for dependents too.
Okay.
So you gotta know the city's being pretty generous.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Sharon, I can actually remember when that program was started. That's how long, I mean, that one was been here a long time.
Yeah,
Had to learn what EAP was, so.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Next, we will have IT.
Okay, Tanya, did you by any chance email airport? I just did. I just didn't know if you already had, because, okay, IT's a relatively easy one in one sense. It's 4.8 million, about 20% less than they started the year with. Most of that's because all the real-time folks got transferred during the year to the police budget. Their biggest thing they're gonna be trying to do this year is they're in the middle of some conversions and application work that will help the departments respond better to citizen complaints and keep up with them better. There's a software you'll hear about at some point called Q Alert that other cities have used and that we're bringing on at this point. The other thing that she's working on, and there's actually a $1 million capital project that was funded a couple of years ago, just kind of generic IT. And what we're gonna be doing is repurposing that for next year with your indulgence to try to get us off of analog phones and get us onto VoIP phones, because we spend a fortune on telephones. And it's one of those things that every time we get complaints from places like Property Standards, my phones are down, what she's gonna be working on is gonna be stuff to try to make that a lot more reliable and frankly a lot less expensive. We're in a couple of situations, and airports is the one that comes to mind mostly, where we have some really high analog bills because AT&T can do it, because that's all that's left. We're trying to get as many of those converted out as we can, because it is ridiculous to spend the kind of money we're spending on phones right now. And that's what we think they can help us do through what they do next year. By the way, thank you for the microphones working.
Amen.
Everybody appreciates it.
Yeah,
You
sure
should get
did.
applause. And we can see ourselves over in the corner, you know,
Exactly.
all the better. Jackie,
Thank
you're
you,
on.
thank you, thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys for your patience. Like Mr. Dark said, one of the priorities for next year will be to transition us off of a lot of those analog lines. We'll be transitioning to VoIP. In addition to that VoIP rollout, we'll be doing a lot of like infrastructure upgrades. There's a lot of like old, outdated equipment on our network, so we're going to be swapping out some like outdated switches, et cetera, just general maintenance, and then creating some maintenance schedules and like refresh cycles so that we're updating that equipment prior to it being end of life and end of support. And so we're going to be using that budget to accomplish those goals next year.
One of the things you don't think about is how many places they touch. I mean, they're almost like SPAR in the sense that almost everything we do in one way or another runs through them. She reminds me of that regularly. But we had a call last week where the conferences that we have tie-ins with for the Independence Bowl are allowing iPads and stuff on the field this year, which means we have to make absolutely sure we have enough Wi-Fi there, and we don't. So we're trying to do some things with a contractor to try to get it where we can have enough where all that will work. We may have to make it, the other thing is, you know, when a stadium was put together like it is, nobody ran concessions through computers. You know,
Correct.
just a, you know, little till box and go on, and, you know, so point of sale, ticketing, ticket booths, all of that requires stuff that, you know, we have there. The stadium is on our fiber ring,
Correct.
but it does not have, frankly, enough capability
To
there
support it.
to do the stuff we need to do. So we're trying to figure out how to deal with it for 6 weeks from now, and then trying to figure out how to deal with it from beyond that. But I think it illustrates the fact that if these folks do their job well, they're gonna have their fingers in a lot of pies over the
Almost
years.
everything.
And sometimes they have to tell people, I can't do that next week, but, you know, that's the way that works.
I will say that my long-range goal for the stadium specifically is to take them off the ring. So I want to segment out that location. That's going to require some additional fiber runs, so that they're on their own separate networks, so they can be more vendor agnostic. There's a lot of like different vendors that they work with, from ticketing, like you said, to like point of sale. And it'll just make them more flexible and allow them to like operate more independently.
And that's another thing that $1 million capital project will help us do without having to come back and talk to you about money, so that's a good thing.
Shocker.
Sorry, we're just
What is vendor agnostic?
we're
So
talking
it
about
allows
a
them-
7th grade education here.
Sorry. So it allows them to work with like whatever vendors. So typically, I'm more, I guess, stringent as it applies to like vendors that attach to the city's network, because of course my team is responsible for the safeties and security, et cetera. Segmenting them out protects like employee information, et cetera, everything that's riding on the city's network from the independent stadium.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Thank you for
Thank you,
humoring
so
us
we can be
there, yeah.
fluid.
Right.
I'm just glad you asked.
I knew what it meant down here.
You did, you
Of
knew what
course,
it meant.
of course you did.
Of course you
Yeah,
did.
right, sure.
And if you
Next
didn't,
time,
you weren't
can
gonna say a
share with
word.
us?
I will.
No, he doesn't want to.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Shar.
I just want to be able to use the word.
All right. Thank you.
Fluidly, I
Shar.
might add,
Okay.
yes.
We have contacted the nice folks at the airport. I was gonna ask Alan Clark to do his while he was here, but
Come on.
I think he wandered out.
And
One of the things that, you know, this is new for me now, again, about how it's gonna work here, but one of the things that we wanna make sure that we do is, there are always amendments at the end of the budget process. Some of them are ours and some of them are yours. And what we have discussed with Ms. White over and over is, we're not gonna surprise you with any, and we hope you don't surprise us with any. You know, if you got something that you wanna talk about as far as amendments, you know, obviously the more conversation we can have before then would help. It doesn't mean we're always gonna agree, and that's okay. But we're not gonna send you any that will surprise you. We'll try to tell you as early as we can. I mean, as for instance, we know we have one. Ms. White discovered that we had inadvertently zeroed out plumbing permit revenue for next year, and it's like $165,000. Fortunately, Gary Norman came to me and said they took bids on the herbicide they do on right-of-ways, and that had been a 3-year deal that expired this year, and well, guess what? The price went up. So that's where we're gonna be able to apply that. But, you know, we'll have a few of those, and there'll be some when, you know, when y'all or Ms. White finds mistakes or whatever, we'll do our best to, you know, to at least keep everything on top of the table, because it gets crazy, that last budget meeting, and we'd like to make it as painless as possible for everybody. We can do airport before Larry gets here, but that wouldn't be fair. So.
Go ahead.
If you want me to go ahead, I will, but and we can wait till he gets here. But
They didn't plant no flowers, so I'm telling you.
You have fun with those flowers?
They ain't planting no flowers at all.
oh, really? So they're coming? Well, they don't have to do anything.
They ain't planting damn flowers. They ain't planting damn flowers.
Do y'all want us to be sure we, Mr. Chairman, do you want us to be sure we tell everybody to come an hour early tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're gonna be rolling.
we're gonna roll at 7.
Well, no, we're not gonna roll at 7, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, ask them if
I didn't
they
say
come.
we'd be awake.
Ask them if they come.
We will be awake.
We'll be awake.
8 o'clock. We going to sleep at 8 o'clock.
That's right.
I can just about guarantee you there's gonna be 2 of us that won't be here at 7 o'clock in the morning. And one of them's not even here at 3, so.
Yeah, there's probably that.
Yeah.
And there's a matter of that.
I have a whole routine in the morning and this is, you know.
True, it may not be.
I'm telling you, man, it's nice.
This time, getting home and it's dark at 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
you know, your body says, okay, if it's dark, what am I doing still awake? So, it was nice to get up and actually be able to see when I got out of bed this morning, but that's another deal.
Jackie, did you see if Martian brought the food yet? Martian.
If they did, I'm getting up out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, check with DoorDash, see if they, we have just exited the time cap.
I'm leaving, that'd be a ghost.
Mhm.
You clearly have plenty of time to get to the
So far.
So, well,
We may be done for lunch.
He on that fast track.
He's like, oh, you fin, okay then,
What's
bye.
What time is it?
What time is it?
one of the things I was gonna ask you is, do you wanna be through at lunch, or are y'all talking about taking a break for lunch? Cause right now there isn't one.
We eat at that desk. We did that last
Yeah,
year.
we
I think we ate through it, we worked through it last time, yeah.
Eat right here.
Right here, sit right here.
Just because we're working through it don't mean I'm not gonna eat it.
Okay, right.
Well, just be sure you ordered 10, okay?
You
Or
or- you
11,
ordered, I eat it.
12, you know, whatever.
Whether we break or not.
Don't need a lot, but, yeah.
Who we have, Jason?
The box lunch.
Aren't you good? Like you sleep.
Wake up, RJ.
Come put your face up and look right. It wouldn't work. I'm gonna step in first, see if I have to see this. I'll be down low.
Okay. Now.
I just don't know why it's so hard to plant it.
What's that?
Flowers.
Where, at the airport? They're actually pretty good about it,
I'm
aren't
going on 5 years, I've been asking for
they? In the
5
front,
years.
in the front, in the circle as you go in?
I've been asking for 5 years. I want to see if they want
Man,
to have
all
a
I
plate
want.
lunch to get them.
Well, that's, okay, so we ask him. Look, we need some flowers in the bed.
Hold on, let me see what's in here for landscape.
You need to have some bright colors for all those people exiting and coming in.
Can we just get a
Yeah, we'll
flower,
see.
tulip or something?
I swear to
Yeah,
God.
pansy or
Yeah,
tulip.
pansies now. I mean,
Just
come
a
on.
tulip or anything.
No, ain't no tulips now.
Maybe we can move on to something else and we won't all talk. I'm serious, we're at the airport, we're waiting on him. Yes, we are. Okay, so he's leaving the airport. All right.
He just leaving the airport?
Yeah.
Y'all wanna, I mean, we can go on if you want,
Go ahead.
cause what we can do is we'll do our part and
I
then,
just need to know when he gonna do some flowers. We can go on and do it.
well, we can ask him that when he gets here, or we
Yeah,
can
you
email him
do
right
it.
now, let him tell you that. Airport, the budget's a little over 30.2 million, down a little bit less, down a little about 5% from where we started, because they are planning to spend some of their prior fund balance for capital projects. I will tell you that this budget's gonna go down some before it finally passes, because we have an ordinance on first reading for next time to add some capital projects for them that they've just gotten funded for, that require some local match, so it's well over 2 million. So that will make their reserve and ultimately their budget go down before final passage. It really won't change any of the other stuff. From a revenue standpoint, the only real issue they have is that the Western Global, who had the Hangar 40, is bankrupt, and they're not paying rent, and at some point they will be disappearing from there, but the rent that they owe us is not likely to end up being paid in full, if at all. So they'll be working to re-rent that out, but that's the only really serious revenue change that they have.
Which airport are they? Are they at the?
That's at regional, that's that big, the big hangar that had the roof blow off.
Yeah.
Well, that's where Western Global was working. That's the,
That's the one we-
Big planes that they still got sitting out there.
yeah, I know, I keep thinking, I saw one of those when I flew out not too long ago, wondered if we, had a way to attach that, but I think the bankruptcy court got it.
Got a
before
whole
we did.
load. There's 2 or 3 757,
Mhm.
Really?
67 sitting out there.
Is that the
right
one
in
that,
front of
is
it.
That
that
ought
the
to
one
be
we
an
repaired the
administrative
roof on?
expense
Yeah,
of
that's the one we
bankruptcy,
just
though.
repaired the roof
We
on.
ought to-
Oh, nice of us.
Yeah.
The rent, the rent for that
Tom,
should
can
be
you
an
see if you-
administrative
Get some flowers.
Tom,
expense that goes with it.
hey, Tom, see,
Yes.
can you put about $55 in there for some flowers?
Oh,
Couple
just,
flats.
just to refresh my memory so I can ask the question properly, where did he promise you he'd put flowers and,
For the last, this going on 5 years, I've been asking to beautify the entrance coming into the airport, because that's where people come in.
mhm.
And so for this is going on 5 years, that I've just asked to just beautify it, just put some flowers or something. Every year they say, yeah, we're gonna do it.
Wanted to do it for, coming in for the regional airport and fixing up the downtown airport too, where it would be attractive.
Oh, yeah,
Cause they used
that's
to,
sign at the
they didn't even cut
downtown
the
Yes, the
grass
sign.
out at the downtown
Yeah.
Signs at the
airport.
downtown
That's a good thing.
airport
I'm glad you
are
brought that
horrible.
up.
They
Yeah,
tore
the
down that
signage.
old building coming in, that's on the right hand
Siding,
side.
I can't even remember, cause that was the ugliest building, right there, time you enter into downtown airport.
Okay. I know very little about plants.
They
The
said
lady
they
in my
had a
house knows more than
beautification
that.
plan coming,
I
but
would
they
tell you,
don't-
this is probably not the time of the year to be planting too much, but.
No, they've been saying they had
I-
a beautification plan
I
coming.
don't think any time of the year is a good time to plant, cause we don't have any flowers.
Well, I understand that, I'm just not sure we're gonna plant any more right now, cause it's about to freeze, but yes, I don't understand why it's not done either.
That big MD-11 is a big planter, fill it up.
Can we just go get some mums?
Yeah, we might could do that.
Get
Home
some
Depot
tulips.
probably sell us some. if we-
Get some mums.
We can get
put
some
'em out.
tulips.
Sounds like a good church project.
He said
Yeah,
tulips.
get some tulips.
You probably get a volunteer group to
See
do
if
it.
they get some tulips or
Our
something.
Shreveport Green.
The airport does have a couple of new capital projects for next year. They got $500,000 in their own money for work on that Hangar 40. And then they've got a $750,000 project that's funded entirely from state and federal money to rehab one of the taxiways at downtown. I think that's really all they have new. I will tell you, they scared me when they turned in their capital budget, and it had $125 million in new money in it, and I was thinking, okay, where are you gonna get that? And apparently, they were confusing their long-term plan for their next year plan. And I think they'd like to do some other things down at regional, but that's really all I have for them. I don't think they've got anything going on other than flowers, and we can make darn sure that you hear that. I mean, they hear that. But other-
Flowers and signage for me.
I'm sorry?
I said signage at the downtown
Yeah,
airport.
curb appeal's a big
Curb
deal.
appeal is a big deal.
We can
I'm
definitely.
sure Larry can answer this, but I mean, how do we replace that revenue of that big hangar out there? I mean, is there anything that y'all are doing economic development wise to try to get another tenant for that?
They are. I know that he feels like that's a fairly attractive location because of the fact that it can take big planes.
Right.
And it's used to taking big planes. He doesn't think it's gonna be unrented all that long. It's just until it's completely released, until Western gets their stuff out of there and all that. But he and I have had that discussion, and I'll try to get some updates for you, but he did not think it would be unrented all that long. It's also not a huge, component. I mean, it's not gonna break the airport not to have a renter for a little while.
I just like,
But yeah,
the job aspect of it, I think was what was so attractive about Western Global, is that they were supposed to, progressively get more jobs and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, and now we're looking at them filing bankruptcy.
they have assumed they're gonna get about $500,000 less in hangar rent revenue next
Yeah,
year
so-
than this, so that's the order of magnitude we're talking about out of $37, $38, $39 million overall revenue. So it's not gonna, it's more getting it filled than the money part.
So they're definitely, Global's definitely filed bankruptcy, they're
They
just not
definitely have.
reorganizing or anything,
No,
so,
they're,
no
they're-
more income.
They're done.
Okay.
And it was interesting because, you know, when we had all that wind stuff, they were very accommodating. I guess if they figured they weren't gonna
Well,
pay
they
their
knew
rent
they
anyway,
weren't
it didn't
gonna
really
stay
matter.
long.
But that's where we are there.
Mm.
So what are we doing with the, and maybe he will answer this, with the international designation for this airport? Do they move upon that, or what's the plans as it
We're gonna
relates
hope-
to that?
We're gonna hope Larry gets here soon, because that's one I can't answer.
Okay.
I didn't realize, but we are getting international,
Mm-hmm.
cargo flights.
We do have the international trade zone.
Yeah, I didn't realize, but we also have the, border patrol out there. I didn't know that.
Well, that's become an issue occasionally because
Right.
people see buses and
Mhm.
begin to freak a little bit out there, but it's a transit point for going other places.
Yeah.
This is what I've always wanted to know is does Bossier contribute anything to our airport?
Other than downtown, I think is in Bossier Parish, no.
Okay,
So the name regional is somewhat misleading.
well, yeah, because we're footing all the bills and they're, you know, they,
As far as I know, have never contributed in the life of
right.
either of the airports, so. If you hadn't been out there in a while, though, they have done some remodeling of the concourses this year.
Oh, yeah.
They look a lot better than they did a year ago, I know that. I know they got some money to do it, and one of the things they've done is they have tried to make the airport look a little more like it actually belongs here, instead of the art, for instance, just being generic and all that, and I think that's a good thing that
Yeah,
they
it's
are doing.
hometown.
And if we can, look at you with all that, I'm impressed. I know you ate unhealthy food.
Well, you know, the Bible said when the ox in the mind, get it out. So to stay away.
I thought you had some chocolate chip cookies. or
No,
something.
no.
I just saw a little bit of a glance of the chip.
No, I don't believe that's right. It looked like Lay's potato chips.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Well, I will tell everybody to stay tuned tomorrow, and if you're on in the morning, show up pretty early.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, we're not gonna rush you. You take as long as, you know, this is your room. You take as long as you want, but we're not gonna mind if you're quick either, so.
Tell them we're gonna do them like Liz Taylor did all her husbands. We ain't gonna keep them long.
Let's see, she married one of them twice, didn't she? So I don't know how we're gonna talk about that.
Who was that? That was Gary, what's Gary's last name?
Yeah, I mean, where is it?
So that may not be a good analogy.
No, maybe not.
They may have to come back.
And neither one of us have violet eyes over here, so.
Every time I go to sleep, I'm going to sleep. I just need something to keep me awake right now.
Well, I apologize for them not
Oh, that's all right.
thinking they were coming,
Well,
but,
they weren't, whatchamacallit, they on their right time.
well,
Plan
if
on
if
being
they're not
here.
here till 4:45, we're gonna shoot them, cause that's an
Okay.
hour from now. I don't think we got enough comedy act to make it go that long. Sharika, she'll be happy. She's first in the morning. Did I hear you say that was the first coffee in 5 months?
Yeah, I'm not.
Are you a
coffee-
tea drinker or you get your caffeine elsewhere?
Smoke weed.
Okay. The mics are still live.
Man,
Steve.
man, stop it. Stop it.
I'm just playing.
Man, oh, man.
We pay-
Oh, there you go.
we pay some
That's the
legislation.
out
We
right
can
there.
have- how
Got a
much we
prescription.
paying so
Let
we
me
can
show
have-
you.
I didn't vote for it, ask Tabitha.
No, you didn't vote for it, I did.
How much we can have?
14 grams.
14
Bryson, he ain't gonna be out there playing his own flowers.
In front of the airport.
Be like, hey, James. He giving his own community service.
Marijuana growing in front of the airport now.
I'm gonna tell him let me work way over on Burkholm.
You be down there on the, off
I'm
of
gonna be
Walker
in
Road on
your,
some of those, on some of those areas.
Yes, well, I'm gonna be way over there.
Welcome to Shreveport. We fly high.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working over there.
Until we drop in altitude.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We just coasting
I'll
on
be
in.
down. Let me go down there a little bit.
Yeah, come on down.
Yeah.
You'll have a lot of company there.
They won't see me
Yeah.
down there.
Oh, I was looking at that deal, it said 423, I thought, okay, that's the Atlanta time.
That's correct, yeah. It's a,
Yeah.
That's an easy flight if things are going well.
yep.
You do all of them on one?
The easiest way to go to Pennsylvania is to Charlotte.
The which one is that?
Sometimes a little less expensive, but the flight's harder.
I'm finished. Oh, yeah, I'm done.
We do have executive session Monday to talk to him about sewer afterwards.
Yes.
And then I think Nicole wants to do it in 2 weeks to talk about the fire stuff.
I thought we were supposed to go today.
Airport is the last one.
I don't think so.
I got you.
I mean, were you thinking we might be bringing stuff or what? We pretty much told people, don't bring anything, just come come talk and answer questions. Like, we told them if they made a PowerPoint show, we were gonna shoot them, so, you know.
I like that.
Well, y'all can't see them, so, I mean, you
Yeah.
just see them a little better, but that screen's pretty tiny. I know I've seen stuff, you know, it's not bad looking this way, but looking the way y'all are looking, it's tough.
To the side, you can't see, like I can't.
Well, the pixels don't pick up that way, I suspect. We're hoping people just come and answer questions and try to make sure that whatever you have that you wanna know, we can answer.
I believe this is the first budget meeting I've been to, and this is our 5th, but I came the year before, 6th year that I hadn't, Ken Craft in here.
Well, he's apparently been in Mr. Talafero's ear a great deal, cause I keep getting these forwarded emails, so.
Of course, he's in my district.
That's right.
We have a relationship.
But he also, he's a crossing guard now, so maybe that's why he's not, maybe he'll be here tomorrow.
He might, well, let's see, he couldn't be here early,
He got crossed.
and he'll have to leave early, but, you know.
Please ask the chief if we got any uniforms for those. Because we need, yeah, and they need a raise. You know, they need,
They need uniforms.
well, they need a little bit of, appreciation or love, you know.
I thought we gave him a raise, I don't know if we did or not. We told him to do it, if it hadn't happened yet,
I don't think so.
that's
If it
shame
is,
on
it's-
SPD.
Nobody's saying it is.
And Ken would've said so.
Yeah, didn't we try to get him some uniforms too, or something?
Well, I mentioned to the chief about uniform, you know.
Looks like the simplest thing to be get, you know, everybody and their brother's got a polo shirt now.
Yeah.
In one form or another, or a little jacket or something that,
And a hat.
I mean, that wouldn't be all that expensive.
Jim, you said the hat.
Look, I can't, and those of you that have been around here a while, there was a crossing guard, and I wish I knew his name. He was on the corner of AC Stewart. right there, Yuri.
There was one at Pennsylvania.
And
Yuri,
my
that
gosh,
would
he had his,
salute.
he had his gloves
Yes,
out and
yes.
everything like, I mean, he would just salute
That
you.
was in Pennsylvania, Yuri, I think.
Was it
Jim.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy was sharp, and he was just as pleasant. And another gal that is so pleasant is the one on Line Avenue
In front
up
of
there by Eden.
Middle
Park.
Magnet.
Middle Magnet.
Yep.
She is out there waving, and she is great.
I saw one
I wanna
the
hunt.
other day at South Highlands, and he was doing the same thing. He was waving, and he actually had a hat on.
Have is when the blank or the flower is gonna get planted.
There are flowers in front of our sign, and we're about to change those out. We've already got a contract to put winter flowers out there that will last in front of that will last. We have summer flowers, and we're switching those out to winter flowers.
Oh, they also have some questions about downtown that you really do need to listen to, so.
Do we have any flowers downtown?
We've ordered new signage for downtown.
There we go.
Yeah,
Check that
I
out.
understand. We're working on that, and I've got painters that are gonna paint inside the.
You think he was watching on the way down here and went ahead and called all this stuff?
I don't think you're on TV, but those were the things that, they also wanted to know, I think, a little bit about what's your analysis of the whole Western Global situation and how it might be to re-rent the place and, you know, Hangar 40 and all that kind of stuff. So that might be something you
Certainly,
might
we,
want to
we
address.
have, there are two companies right now. One is out of France that does, painting large aircraft, 777, new aircraft. And we also have a company out of Carolina there's already been a site visit for that. We had that building appraised, and so we now know what to charge, for the rent on the building, so we're moving in that direction. I signed a non-disclosure agreement with the company this afternoon, actually.
Is that for the one out of Carolina?
Yes.
So I guess one of my things was, not only do we need the income, I don't guess we really need the income of what we were getting from Western Global, but it's nice to have it, but also the economic development part of it that might bring some jobs. Will either of these companies bring jobs in?
Absolutely. The company out of Carolina that was one of their big key, is the workforce, and they looked into the Skill Bridge program at Barksdale, and they looked at SUSLA, the A&P program at SUSLA. They were very impressed with that. So,
Will it be a similar maintenance type facility, or?
yes, with, some government contracting. So.
Interesting.
What's a typical lease period for our hangar?
The last lease was a 5-year lease with a 5-year option.
Okay. And that would be this one as well?
It could be.
I don't want to
Negotiate, it would be something similar to
Okay.
that.
The mayor made a point while we were talking a while ago, Western Global's got a bunch of airplanes still out there. We can at least be charging them rent. He says the bankruptcy court lets you do that.
We are, and they are paying, so they're paying.
When are they gonna get those planes out of there, you think?
They have until the February 28th to be out of the hangar and have the planes removed.
Are they still not, they're not still paying rent at all, are they? Or
They're paying rent.
they are paying rent now?
Yeah.
Because they weren't for a while, were they?
They got behind. They're caught up.
Oh, they're caught up. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Oh.
Well, that's good news.
So do we have any potential upgrades for the downtown airport besides the signage?
We're gonna do, painting on the airfield. We have a paint machine at Regional that we bought that we can use at both airports, so we're gonna do some painting out there, signage. I've got some pictures to put up in the inside, new pictures once we get it painted.
We tear down that building
There
coming
has
into
a-
the entrance?
I was
No,
told
10
by
building?
text just a minute ago, it was torn down 2 years ago.
Okay, cause I can
I
recall if I
can't-
did not see it anymore.
We've
Good
just
deal.
about finalized the lease with Susla for the A&P school, for the
Okay.
old Army Reserve building.
Okay.
Is that plane still out there, that Susla plane?
No.
No.
The
It-
FedEx
it's been-
They moved it, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Okay.
But we've got all new signage around the roundabout in front of Regional's terminal. We've got, reflective crosswalks on all the crosswalks for safety for, people coming and going. We've got plans that were just approved for approximately 300 more parking spaces to the north, because I know that's been an issue, is people finding a place to park out there. We had American Airlines visit yesterday. We had really good discussions with American. And they came and they toured, so, we've got hopefully some positive things on the horizon with American.
What about the with the Speaker of the House living here now, what's the odds of us getting a direct DC flight?
I hope they're better. That was what we met with yesterday and with them about, and they seemed very optimistic.
Because he flies commercial. I didn't realize that. But
He does. We worked with Capitol Police last week. We met with them early last week. We're gonna lease some space for his motorcade in our West Cargo building. So, the Capitol Police, he actually came through last weekend and everything went smooth.
awesome.
So you're still working on the international designation for the airport?
Not a designation, we're working on a FIS, a Federal Inspection Station, so
Okay.
that we can process, because we have Customs and Border Patrol has agreed to process passengers
Okay.
for us. We just need to get the equipment. We already have the space identified for that, and we've just got to renovate it. We're waiting on an equipment list from Customs of what type of equipment we need to process people.
Okay, good deal.
Any updates on security, any security measures that are, I mean, I don't want you to divulge things that, you don't need to, but, anything that is gonna be, I don't know, high tech or, any security measures that are being implemented that we've been waiting to do, or?
Not right now. With the speaker coming through, his detail, we'll work with airport operations and airport police to seamlessly work his motorcade through. We've got a route and to be able to deliver him plain-side.
And what about airport police? Are they fully staffed? They doing okay? They got equipment and so forth that they need to,
They're doing well. We just got them a new patrol car, fully decked out patrol car, brand new. We bought it about a month ago, a little over a month ago. And got all the lights and everything on it. We're still trying to recruit. I know the chief's been interviewing some candidates to fill those positions she's got available.
right now I haven't been out there in a little while, speaking to the officers, but, so they have the same equipment? I mean, they're post-certified, of course.
They are.
And, so they're saying that they have the same body cams and so forth, as regular street officers?
They have everything, all
Okay.
their
I thought they did
gear,
also.
and we're also, we have it in the budget for next year to buy them a UTV, a police UTV, to go around and check our parking lot, our several parking lots, and do patrol in that as well. So, they're excited about getting that.
Go ahead.
How much security do we have at the downtown airport?
We have one officer down there.
Okay, and so does that one officer just stay on that particular lot and not anywhere surrounding outside of the airport parameter?
They just stay inside the fence there and at the terminal.
Okay,
And they patrol our airport property.
okay. Are they there 24/7 or is it there for just an allotted time?
No, they have allotted times that they're there on the weekend.
Okay.
And then he works a regular schedule, but can be called in as needed.
Okay,
So it's not a 3-shift kind of thing?
No,
Not for downtown.
he's there on a regular shift, and can be called in as needed.
Okay, so it's an 8 to 5-er, and then they're on call.
Basically, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna ask. All right.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming.
Oh, absolutely. We apologize for being late.
Oh,
That was
so-
early.
so-
Yeah, actually early.
So just one more question, for patrol, I mean, it's a pretty good spread out there at the downtown airport. I mean, have we looked at employing, obviously you can control this, but employing drones to do the surveillance, for the wire? I mean, I'm sorry, the fence
We-
line,
We can't put a
do
drone up
drones. There's
around
no
the
drone.
airport. We've got a 5-mile buffer
Can't even-
around the airport. They won't be, they can't fly within that perimeter around the
Right.
airport without a specific code, and that has to be applied for and all that with the drone company. So
Okay.
we can't put a drone over an airport.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
can't even have a drone as far as my church. I can't even have one out there.
Well, I knew you had to get permission for permits or whatever, but, okay, I didn't know.
so
They don't even
that
know.
only requires security out there, will only require that one officer?
So far, since I've been here, it's worked fine.
Okay.
But he's a member of the airport police department, so if we needed to send another officer down there, we could.
Well, and you have Shreveport Police Department also responded, and I
Right.
know they help
Yes.
them out.
How many do you have at the airport per shift?
We,
Right, yeah.
It varies. Some days, the busy days, we'll have 3 officers there, and we'll have 2.
So I guess I was just asking if they could pull off and go to downtown if they needed to while they were there. I'm assuming.
So it's
We
just a
could get
small
somebody
amount.
down there if we needed to,
Okay,
an additional person.
okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for
thank
not
you.
getting a speeding ticket on the way, but, you know.
We were lucky.
Yeah.
How many of those blue lines did you get on the way over here?
Yeah, he didn't go through any school zones, so.
I saw a couple of them that's gonna get some tickets today.
Okay. That, concludes, for today. Mr. Dark, you can let them know that we're gonna be
We-
moving
we-
in the morning.
That will be the first email I send when I get back to the office, Mr. Chairman.
Check.